So much for that one, which cracked me up. What do we have? No one online? Okay. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. This is the official meeting of the Public Health and Safety Standing Committee of March 25th. And we have all 3 members present. Did everybody have a chance to read the notes that Ann gave us?
Yes.
And everyone approve? Approved. Perfect. Update from Police Chief.
Thus far, March 1st to 25th, I'll obviously have the numbers at the end of the month, total numbers, but just a quick rundown. 10 arrests, 5 different drug seizures, 2 firearms, 29 property bookings. We're currently sitting at 193 calls for service, 38 cases generated. That's where we are.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that a typical March?
No, our numbers are up. Our domestic violence is up. So, yeah.
Do you think that any of the grants that we were hoping for are going to be affected by the federal government
They have been.
already?
That was my next piece of news I was going to relay to everybody. The grant that we put in for is temporarily put on hold, although I did speak with Danae. She says that it is their belief that it will be opened back up, but as far as a timeline, I'm not sure. So it's just one of those things where it's hurry up and wait.
It's just the grant, see, last time we met, you had a grant due
Yep.
in 4 days. Is that the grant that's frozen?
Yeah. Yep, we did turn it in. Danae did a absolutely fantastic job on it. I actually ended up sending Danae to a grant writing school in Billings for a few days.
Great.
She learned a lot, did a really good job there, and again, did fantastic on our grant application. And when it does open back up, I will let everybody know.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that.
Mhm.
Because I know that DSVS also has.
Did they lose some?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, Ann?
Domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
up, like, how much in March so far?
So far, I mean, like our, this year compared to last year, I think we're up like over 70%, but it seems like, because I review officer cases every morning when I come in, read the narratives and everything that happened the prior shift, and now more than ever, there's a lot more domestic stuff coming in. I will get you a definitive number.
Okay, and the other thing is, are we still having to transport everybody to YCBF like the old days, or?
No,
Are you separating them, or what's going on?
County, well, no, we make an arrest. Anytime we're called to a domestic
Well,
violence.
county takes them up.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, county does our transports, but anytime my officers are called to domestic violence complaint where there's a reasonable apprehension of bodily injury or an actual physical assault itself, if an arrest is not made, there is state law stating that, number one, you need to explain why an arrest was not made, and number two, what you did to, I guess, mitigate the risk for the remainder of the shift. So anytime my guys are called to a domestic violence call, there's always an arrest made. Now, it could just be an argument. People argue, and nobody's afraid of the other one. It's just a loud argument. That's just a spat. But like actual domestic violence, we're making an arrest every single time.
And that's different. So that's,
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's why your numbers are up.
No, it's been like that since I've been here. Every time I've been called to a domestic, if there's true violence or if there's reasonable apprehension, I'll make an arrest.
Have to.
Male or female, yeah, have to, because if I don't and I turn my back and take their word for it, I guarantee you I will be called back.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be worse than the first time.
Yeah.
So I can't get my head wrapped around that. Yeah.
No, that's terrible. Okay, so police commission ordinance draft. You guys have a chance to look at this?
Not as of yet.
I wrote this, draft first and then sent it to, Dennison.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dennison went through as well, and basically it just says that we will, adopt the state code
Okay,
for the commissions.
great.
There was a discussion that if we wanted to, give them some other authority, that we would need an ordinance to do that.
Mhm.
But I think that by just adopting the state code changes everything. That means that each of the members of the commission would have 3-year terms,
Mhm.
which is what it is now.
Yeah.
And each term, it's kind of weird, they say that once a year, we appoint a new commissioner.
I see.
So, and it even has it down to what date. you
So
know.
their terms, you mean, are staggered between the three?
The terms are staggered.
I
Right
see.
now, they're not.
Okay,
Right now, they're kind of, messy,
okay.
to say the least.
Does
And
everybody have a copy of that, AKA, are we good to have it on the working council agenda next week?
I believe so. Everybody does have a copy. I don't remember what the other one was. Anyway, and we did if we just stick with what the state has, it's easier and we don't have to change this over and over again.
Mhm.
So this basically says, be it ordained, City of Red Lodge hereby adopts Montana Code annotated sections 732-4151 through 7-32, concerning the police commission's rights and duties. Period.
Okay.
Does that work well for you too?
Yep.
Ann?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll get you a copy of that, although you may already have one.
Yeah, and I think just tonight, let people know it'll be on the working agenda next week, and then we'll pass it in a month.
Yep. And then we looked at, ordinance 941, it's the amended one for dumpsters. And basically, what we did is we added one section, number 4. It was ABCD, now it's ABCDE. And E is dumpsters. All construction dumpsters must have proper and functional lids and be closed and secure at the end of day to protect against the accidental dispersal of solid waste. Dumpsters with attractants must be closed at all times when not being used to dispose of waste, so as not to attract bearers. Other than that, we made no other changes to 941. Any discussion?
I thought if those attractants, it had to be in a bear-proof container.
It says
Lid.
dumpsters with attractants must be closed at all times.
And that could just be a plastic flap that bears could go over the top of and get into.
What, oh, sure.
You said proper and functional. I think proper and functional makes it,
The first part talks about anything with attractant has to be in a bear-proof sealed can.
See, the first part, the proper and functional was on construction dumpsters. All construction dumpsters must have proper and functional lids. So then for the dumpsters with attractants, must be closed, so do they make the dumpsters with attractants out of metal, or,
I think what it means is
What's the
don't throw
difference?
your lunch in the construction dumpster, throw it in a bear can.
well, who's,
Need to be bear resistant.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a bear proof can.
No, I've seen some,
They're pretty
they're,
resourceful.
they're, yeah, very
so
much so.
dumpsters with attractants must be,
Or attractants must be stored in a bear-resistant can.
but if somebody walks, I got my dumpster's coming Thursday, and I was told by Republic that, I said, can I have a lid? She goes, every dumpster delivered to Red Lodge has to have a lid. I went, that's news to me.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a request that we've communicated when they've reached out.
Is it just Republic, though?
No, we've talked to the other units. So if you drive around the construction,
Two Tough Guys over by the gazebo does not have a lid on it.
how long has it been there, do you
Oh,
know?
it's at Dave Evans' house, the old Ferguson house.
but
Does
see,
not have a lid.
That doesn't answer my question about how long it's been.
Oh, 2 months.
So it might have, right now, whenever we talk to them, Brian relates on that they need to have, we're telling them that even though you guys haven't put the ordinance in place yet, So,
Oh, okay.
But see, you can get a dumpster from somebody besides Republic.
But they did that. Dave Evans got one from Two Tough Guys, and I'm saying I drive by it every day and there's no lid.
Is that, oh, I thought there was, how many trash companies do we have? Normally it's Mackenzie?
well,
The public
that's residential trash, so when
Or-
it gets to construction.
Oh, there's
members,
four.
There's several.
I
I
think
see.
when we had the, flood, there were all kinds of companies that could bring out a dumpster. Of course, none of them had them, but
Sure.
But it's not, I mean, well, I was surprised she said that yesterday. So is that in an ordinance that all dumpsters delivered to Red Lodge need to
No.
have, okay.
It's probably
no,
their
that's why we're
SOP.
doing this.
Okay, well, I mean, I would say delivered.
So if we say attractants must be stored in a bear-proof dumpster,
Resistant.
Madam Chair, if I may, so we don't have control over the companies.
right?
So, and meaning as a city, so what we're passing is an ordinance about dumpsters over here. We have communicated to those that we work with that if they're coming to Red Lodge, they need to have a lid because we get winds and we don't want stuff to blow. But that's just the ones that we talk to as and construction folks, and somebody comes in to get a building permit. We're informing them they need to have a lid, that there's an ordinance coming that says that's gonna be what's required.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Attractants must be stored in a bear-resistant dumpster and be closed at all times when not being used to dispose of waste, so as not to attract bears. Does that work? Okay, I'll fix that and send that on to the city council to take a look at. Then on 910, and this is the, snow and ice from the sidewalks. I know.
It's melted.
Yeah, which
Thanks for the
means it's
update.
gonna snow. And, Dennison said that I had to, because we're removing two sections, that I had to type the entire ordinance and then cross out those that we're dumping. So what we took out of the ordinance was under, 431 duty, E, which we're removing for the purpose of this chapter, the paved multi-use path along Highway 212, extending northward more or less from the traffic circle at Third Street, shall not be considered a sidewalk and shall therefore be exempt from the requirement herein to remove snow and ice from thereupon. The advantage of taking that out is that there are some sidewalks there now, and once the highway widens it, there will be a sidewalk. So what this says is that owners and tenants or occupants of the property within areas that require snow removal from sidewalks shall keep sidewalks free from snow and ice. And then we excluded that section, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why it was excluded. Maybe this was so old that there was no sidewalks and therefore they felt that it wasn't, there's nothing to get clear, but there are sidewalks there. There's a sidewalk in front of the gas station, the tire place, and ProCut. And sooner or later, we'll have sidewalks on the other side. So that was one that we were proposing to remove. The other was the penalty for noncompliance, because the penalty shouldn't be in an ordinance, those should be passed by resolution. So we cut out, so under the heading of penalty for noncompliance, it just says penalties for noncompliance will be set by resolution of the city council. And that way we don't have to change the ordinance every time we, change the big $50 fine.
Well, how does everyone feel about the sidewalks north of the, traffic circle being exempt?
Well, I wasn't fond of it.
I don't know if that's,
I don't know
Fair.
why it was exempt.
I mean,
That would mean that the hospital doesn't have to clear their sidewalk.
I don't know if they do or not.
They,
Oh, yes, they do.
do.
Do they?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, they do, but basically they don't have to.
That's odd.
that bothers me a little bit.
That it was in there?
Yeah, because it's, you know, it's gonna, things are going that way, and we want people to walk.
There's a lot of emergency apparatus moving around at the hospital and fire station too.
Yeah, I think the fire station keeps theirs clear. So,
So we should take the exemption away?
But Dennison, the lawyer, says it, tell me again what he wrote.
all he said is, he was giving me a tip on how to write this. I was gonna simplify it and say, just remove these two sections. He says, no, you have to type in the whole entire ordinance. I did a copy and paste, but
Good.
you put in the whole ordinance and then literally cross it off.
Right through.
So when you're looking at it, you can see a strike through.
Oh, shit, okay, sure.
So that has a strike through, and that shows nice and clear how it goes. So, having not written any of these ordinances, it's a challenge to where to start. I mean, does everybody agree that they shouldn't be exempt?
No, I mean, yes.
Yes, they should be.
Yes,
Yes, they shouldn't be exempt.
yes, they shouldn't be
Yes,
exempt.
we have no bananas.
So this will be another one that I put to the city council to look at.
Well, I think we've been talking about that for a few weeks.
We
How
have.
much we want to encourage this, and the way to encourage it is to take care of it.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't sit well with me, I guess.
So let's just take away the exemption.
Yeah, and the penalty
Right.
in there,
Okay.
okay. The other thing, what's next on this agenda?
So just to clarify my notes, so next time, we'll have three things that are to the whole council work session. The police commission, amended draft, and the ordinance, 910 second amendment.
Correct.
Are all three gonna be on the work agenda? Okay?
Well, 910 is, yes,
The snow one.
910 is the snow, 941 is dumpsters. And then we don't have a number on the, police commission,
But we can get one for next week.
so we'll need a number on that. And I did do quite a bit of follow-up on, the safe routes to school, which I talked to a zillion people, and basically, it was dropped when it was active before. They did do, I talked to Parks, I talked to Trails, and Trails goes back a long way. And apparently there was discussion of going for a grant to install sidewalks as safe routes to school. And then it went nowhere. So I think that's something that I'm gonna continue to pursue, to see if there are any grants for, sidewalks. And then the question goes, should they be on both sides of the street? Probably, I don't know. I mean, we're talking quite a bit of money.
It's also a Mike Maples question too. It'd probably be really good to have his input on it, in
Yeah.
terms of like how narrow the streets are, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably look at a map and tell you where it'd be beneficial, but there are some pretty narrow streets. I mean, like in Broadway does, with parking and stuff like that, does kind of get really narrow, so.
Yeah. Wonder how much it costs to install a sidewalk on a 50-foot lot. And you know, the planning board has discussed this for years and years, when there's a new construction, but there also, it could go into, the building as well, building department, that if they're going to build on a vacant lot, that we should require a sidewalk be installed, which it isn't now. So I know that it might be, we've talked about an island of a sidewalk, but eventually they will all tie together, we think. But, sidewalks is just something, I mean, I looked at it last night too, where the sidewalks were cleared of snow here on Platte. And there were two people with two dogs walking in the street.
Mm,
So they wanted to walk next to each other, which you can't do on a sidewalk.
sure, yeah.
And I don't think that we're ever gonna get rid of that. I think that's part of the ambiance of the town.
Yeah, people just walk in the street. That's how it
People
goes.
walk in the street.
That's how it goes.
Yeah,
As long as they're like not right in the right in the middle, you know?
Yeah, or paying attention that there are cars coming.
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
And move. Yeah, I know that I had a discussion with Jody about that, because she wanted the whole town to clear their sidewalks. And of course, I had quite a few responses on that. And I don't personally think that that's gonna be a thing.
You can clear all the sidewalks and people are still gonna walk in the streets.
Yep.
That's,
It's the idiosyncrasy or the ambiance or whatever, but I walk down the middle of the street because there's nothing to negotiate. The curbs, cracks in the sidewalk, you know, it's just,
Uneven.
you just go.
yeah, it's not, and it's been all smoothed out for us.
Yeah, and I just,
Okay.
I don't know, I wonder how many kids walk to school, I mean,
A lot.
do they, and they come from how far a distance? You know, I mean, I know.
Probably, I would just say, I would imagine within the general proximity, I just see the, in the morning time, the crossing guards, and, you know, and they're
Pretty busy.
pretty, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, doesn't when, neither here nor there, but
Yeah.
just wondered how many.
Well, see, that was the other issue that I had, is what do we consider a route to school?
The route is what a parent decides.
Exactly. I mean, that would involve the whole town. I mean, it really, you know, the safe route to school, it's like, how do we come up with that route?
Where does the route start and where does it end? Because if a kid lives south and the route starts north, does he have to?
Yeah, which you won't do.
No, gosh, no, they'll take the path of least
They'll
resistance.
cut through someone's yard, they'll do, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not shy about that.
so that's the other issue, and probably why they dropped it before, is because trying to determine what the route is. I mean, it's great to provide one. I was thinking, you know, you've got the school, so you've got both sides, and you do that, maybe go out one block, and that's about it. So it's a start, maybe, yeah. I don't think we can solve this issue.
Nope. As of right now, no.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's something to get Twitter pated about, because as you said, no one's been hit.
Yeah.
And
Well, like we've discussed, you can't quantify it. You can't say from here to here, this street or this side, you can't do that, so.
Yeah, you can't come up with a route.
No.
I mean, we could come up with an area around the school, and that's about it. And if you've ever gone to
and
pick up your kids there at
who's gonna
school,
enforce it? You kids, get over here. I mean,
you're on the wrong side of the street.
That'll go over well.
You know, guys,
That'll work, right?
put one of my guys out as a crossing guard,
There you go, yeah.
really hammer it home.
Well, I know, I live close to the high school. If you tell those kids to walk on the street, they'll walk on the sidewalk.
If you tell them to slow down
Right.
at lunchtime,
Yeah,
they'll speed up.
yep.
Of course they will. I had this is everybody's favorite topic, animal ordinance. I talked to, Judge, he does it at length. And he was talking about maybe, I guess the mayor may close a park when there is a bear issue, and how to close it, what the penalty is, because he's had that issue in the past. I'm gonna just read my notes really. Of course, he talked about the feral cat colonies that pop up from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
He said puppy mills, he thinks more than 3 dogs, that they should get a vet inspection of the premises. This is from a judge's point of view.
I understand. 3 dogs, though, I have 3.
Yeah. And so, of course, I'm trying to read my own. Service animals, he's thinking that maybe they should, if they have a dog tag, that it should be at a discount. But right now, the dog tags are $10
For a service animal?
for a service animal, or no tags.
Yeah, you know, I can understand his thought process behind that, obviously, because a service dog, they are tricky.
They are, they're
yeah.
different.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, we've ran into it before, right, with, and we just had a meeting about it,
I'm missing something, because the only purpose of the registration is so we can verify that they have their rabies shots. So if they're service dogs, they don't have to have rabies shots?
I'm just telling you what Judge.
That's the sole purpose of the city dog tag code?
Yeah, it's for us to validate that they have rabies.
Oh, because he was also talking about unaltered dogs
So could we
should maybe cost more.
could we validate it with the city without having to give them $10 then? Here's
No,
my vet
because-
paperwork.
no, Because it takes staff effort and time.
I see.
So if you're putting workload on staff, the $10 is to compensate, or is to pay for the fact that we're putting staff effort into that.
I see.
Well, and he felt that if you, charged more for unaltered dogs, that would go ahead and take care of the service dog expense. That an unaltered dog is more of a problem in the community than one who's been altered.
Well, it depends on the dog and it depends on the owner, I'd say. Right? Owner responsibility and if the dog's trained or not.
Well, I think an unaltered male will do anything to get out of the yard. He talked about fencing that, and snow, and we've all seen that where the snow piles up along the fence, now the dog can easily get out. Just climb up the snowbank. My dogs are too stupid to realize that, so that's the good news. But they're altered.
Don't you have collies?
Border Collie Aussies.
Yeah, they're some of the smartest dogs out there.
I'm telling you, they don't even try.
Not these ones, got it.
This is their land, so,
Yeah,
yeah, nobody comes in, and they don't generally go out unless it's to get into my car.
I see.
And that's how you get them back when they escape. I open the car door. So he said that perhaps the zoning should change to have the backyards with taller fences.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
So
we're getting into,
Is this
We-
guy, does he have anything to do?
Apparently,
I mean,
he had notes from years and years of issues.
Believe it, our city court judge is pretty busy.
Yeah.
But these suggestions, and I can see where Ann's coming from with,
But to your point, he's an input,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah, no.
he's staffing its input, but the decision is ultimately yours.
yeah,
Well, I just think that all of these should be considered. I kind of, thought it was interesting with the unaltered dogs costing more than a dog that was altered. That implies that an unaltered dog is harder to keep control of.
Wonder if I'm just picturing staff going out and going up behind the dog and determining if it's altered or not, you know? I mean, I know how they verify it at the dog shows.
You know, the rabies thing, it says right on there whether they're altered or not. When you get the doctor's, thing.
Rabies shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they could just show the tag.
Well,
But
they're
only
showing
for
your rabies, yeah, that's like I said, when you register it, they do that.
I always just give them whatever the vet gave me, and it shows that they're altered or not altered.
I have a question, Bert.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Typically, what's an animal problem in town?
So mostly public nuisance or dog at large, maybe.
Barking, I'm assuming.
Yeah, barking, yeah,
Barking's huge.
sure, yep.
And there's been some biting.
Yeah, we're actually kind of currently, discussing with county as well, the responsibilities of, county health nurse as it pertains to recording and taking animal bite calls that are phoned in by the hospital. Because historically, if there's an animal bite that occurs and they go to the hospital has a duty to call law enforcement responds, does county health paperwork. What we're doing, or what we're looking to do now, is kind of, unless if there's like a true criminal issue, is cutting out the law enforcement responsibility and having county health.
Go directly to county health.
Correct, yeah, because the paper, all the county health paperwork and everything that we fill out, and the forms are constantly changing, so it's just in discussion right now. We're still doing it, but it's just something that's being discussed. But, yeah, dog bites, barking dogs, public nuisance, obviously, with, you know, some of the stuff that's been reported to us. Wild animal calls, which it falls under the umbrella of fish and game, because I don't have the training on how to deal with wild animals. I'll help. But other than that, I mean, I'm kind of out of my element there.
Yeah, and all I,
Really, so then it's mainly barking, I would say. And a nuisance barking.
Yeah, and those are not, that's not a very high call volume type of call. It's normally like a repeat offender.
The same dog.
Same dog,
Same
same
neighbor.
More
owner, same
importantly,
neighbor.
the same two neighbors.
Two neighbors, yep.
Is dog at large the same thing as the dog not on the leash?
Yes and no. So dog at large, obviously, dog escapes custody, goes out into Red Lodge and has a day to himself. That's a dog at large. Now, a dog off the leash is separate, obviously. The dog is,
Is that a state code that we're writing a ticket on?
at large, no, it's a,
No,
there's,
if the dog's off leash, is that a city ordinance or a state code that we cite?
There's nothing in the ordinance that says they have to be on a leash.
Huh,
It
don't tell
says,
anybody that.
it says animals must be attended by someone to take care of them and prevent their doing damage to person or property. It never says leash on here.
at the end of the day, my guys have discretion. If there is like a very old 15-year-old golden retriever that can barely walk and they're just going around in a loop, we're obviously not gonna jump out of our vehicle and.
Yeah,
Now, if there's somebody with an aggressive dog that's running loose and causing problems and threatening people and wildlife, yes, we do have to address that. That all falls down to discretion.
and see,
But we have to have a mechanism in place in order for them to discretion to use it.
oh, that's why, one of the things that I wanted to change in this ordinance was change the word attended to that, such animals must be leashed by,
Which,
attended by someone doesn't make, attended by someone? You know, it just seems kind of vague, to say the least.
It's like the dumpster.
and then if I
Attended.
have my personal property, I have a dog who behaves and he's lying in the front yard, does he have to be on a leash?
No.
Because that's my property.
Well, yeah, no, we're talking about if they're on public property, does that say that?
It should.
It shall be the duty of every person owning or keeping domestic animals within the limits of the city to provide for the keeping of the same within or upon his or premises at all times, save when necessarily or temporarily passing through the streets, and then such animals must be attended by someone to take care of them and prevent their doing damage to person or property. Wow, that's a sentence.
When was that written?
I wish I knew the guys who cleaned
In
this up.
2016, no, 1980.
Oh,
No.
yeah, okay.
And we all know 1980, isn't 1980 the throwaway code?
Yeah, it's stuff that means pre-1980.
It means pre-1980.
I see.
It wasn't 1980. Rod?
I guess, hearing it, you know, we're going to, every dog needs to be on a leash. What's the reality of everybody keeping their dog on a leash?
That's, no.
It's like
Not gonna
walking on
happen.
sidewalks, they're just,
You
But
know,
it gives them a tool. And, you know, that's the whole point. It does give them a tool.
Yeah, and we, at the end of the day, we decide if that tool is needed or not needed.
So right now, so when I hear people say, hey, your dog has to be on a leash, that's absolutely not the case.
that's
It's
right.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. I mean, that's one of the things, I want to remove goats from there because they are not allowed to be kept in the city. So that's pretty straightforward.
Bummer.
And I want to remove well, they can pass through.
Yeah, that's true.
There was
And they
something
do.
in here, yes, they do.
Mass.
En masse. Well, you know,
It's pretty cool.
it is
It's pretty
cool.
cool, yeah.
Red Lodge Fruit Jam, yeah.
Yeah.
I've used that excuse before. I'm sorry I'm late, but there was a herd of goats in the road and I
Oh,
had
yeah.
to wait.
Yeah.
And they look at you like you're lying through your teeth.
Really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
What time is our meeting?
9-ish.
Not 9-ish, okay. If I can just ask for 5 minutes at the end of the meeting to
Absolutely.
go, okay, thank you.
So there is a whole section here on just dogs, so I'm thinking that maybe in there is where we need to say that when the dog is in the public arena, should be leashed.
Sandy, this is a big mess. I think we should go over the whole ordinance at another setting. I mean, this is and we need to do it in person because what happens with this other thing, you end up doing all the work. But I'll meet you here. I try to do the city stuff Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
And then
play
that's
bridge.
it. Yeah.
And, But I'll meet you here because this is too much.
This is,
But I'll meet you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here in person.
and we'll go through, make some
'Cause
suggestions.
this is a mess.
I know that.
So-
I know that, you know, and I wanna take into consideration what the judge said as well. We also do wanna add the feral cat colony for sure, give him a tool for that. I don't know about the puppy mill.
That's, so the feral cat colony stuff is, I would choose to enforce under state code. State,
Okay?
Yep.
We'll check state code on that.
Yep. I just had one yesterday, not a cat colony, but, public nuisance type of call.
Yeah, right.
And I would talk to Corey, councilperson Corey, because it was
Clay
maybe
Thompson?
Thompson. I think maybe 6 years ago, they were all over this ordinance, and I don't know whatever happened to that.
That's a good
It's not-
question.
It's been discussed
They
recently,
might have thrown up their hands.
and I can't recall
I'll
where
do
that
it.
went, but everything you're talking about right now,
Has been talked about.
they were talking about 6 years ago, and why there's no record of it, I don't know.
I think what I do know came out of that is there's a flyer that we give to people, if you wanna get a copy of that from the front desk that talks about the rules, and her and Sunny, and who was the third person that was in it, they had put together, so up front, there's like, when you come in to get your dog registration, they have a little flyer that they
Right.
give you. Those two should go hand in hand, right? The flyer shouldn't make claims that aren't true in our ordinances.
Wow.
But it should include all the things from our ordinance we want them to be aware of.
They may be able to give some background as to
I'll do a search on the
what they were looking
on the
at.
city website for,
It's not like it hasn't been, discussed.
Oh, I bet.
I'm sure it
because
has.
It was heavily discussed there for quite a
Well, we gotta
while.
have common sense about this. I mean, it's just, everyone has a dog, and a lot of people have two.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's one of our little idiosyncrasies.
yeah.
So, but I'll be happy, just do that
Uh,
next week or something, and
We'll just go through
just
it.
go through it,
Okay,
so-
works for me.
yeah.
Okay,
I-
chief, we can leave early, so there's your 5 minutes.
Sure.
Oh, Mayor
Still
Jane?
have agenda stuff left.
Yeah,
By way of awareness, so that you guys know it'll be coming in, we are going to get a resolution to dissolve the current interlocal with the old EMS district. It doesn't exist anymore, we just need to kind of formally do that. So all of the entities are breaking that interlocal agreement, so the county's got one, and we've got one. I've asked for a copy of the paperwork, either from the county or Tom, but I do not yet have that. And I don't think it's gonna be an emergency, but it may be something that comes to this group and council at the same time, and then 2 weeks later for action. The other thing, just to make everybody aware of, is that we did get, and I thought it was gonna be in the packet, and I don't think it made it, we did get, a notification from the county that they have canceled the interlocal for the, Victim Witness Protection Program. Basically, it's a $4,000 agreement we have in place. And while our officers still use them and the judge, can still use them if necessary, they thought that it was not a good use of taxpayer dollars to be spending $4,000 every year for that, because the attorney was not working with them at all, so.
so there's an interlocal agreement with the county regarding victim witness.
Yeah, and that'll actually be dissolved as of May 17th, so they gave us their 60-day written notice.
And the city's been paying the county?
We pay $4,000 a year, that's basically a pass-through for that program. I think it's something we'll revisit again, after we put the attorney position out and revisit our situation. But my understanding is they're still available to the police. And they've just basically said it wasn't a good use of our money to be taking $4,000 to talk to somebody we know never calls us.
That works.
So, yeah, the police department maintains very close contact with, her name's Tessa Branger, she's the victim witness coordinator. She's an absolute rock star, in terms of handling victims and everything, and just preparing them for court, and keeping them up to speed with everything that's going on. I've personally spoken with her, and she's still offering her services to the police department if we obviously,
And she works for the county.
yeah, she's out of the county attorney's office. What we do, we normally have kind of like a two-tier system whenever we have a domestic violence call, a sex assault, a crime in which there is a victim that could receive compensation or need advocate or coordinator services. If it's domestic violence or something like that, we will notify the victim witness coordinator, and we also send a very brief narrative to DSVS, called the 24-hour helpline. We have pamphlets that we give to victims, kind of like a what happens next type
Yeah.
pamphlet. It spells everything out.
There's a little concern because there's a state law about requirements that we have, like to notify them of when they're sentencing, or like if there's a plea agreement stuff.
Or release date.
And so there's a little bit of an exposure vulnerability that I want to make sure the city's not at risk because we're not doing that. My understanding is it's been happening, but I don't know that we have a validated form of that in place. So again, conversation will happen before we renew an attorney contract. That just says we need to be protected against these exposures and vulnerabilities, so.
Okay.
Clarification, DMS.
DSVS?
No, you said
DMS.
DMS.
No, EMS, sorry. I'm
Oh,
for
okay,
the-
I know
that was-
what EMS is.
That was the other one. So there's an old EMS district,
Aren't you an EMT? Or-
and now it's much wider than just the
Okay.
county and Red Lodge.
Gotcha, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
So it was an old EMS interlocal.
It's an EMS interlocal that applies to the old EMS boundaries, which
Gotcha.
got replaced with the voter initiative last time.
Ah, got it. Yeah, I was confused on that as well. You know, we use those initials so often, it's like, we should know that. Anything else?
My time to shine here.
Yes,
Okay.
it is, I can't wait.
It's,
I know.
do you know what it is?
No, he's gonna say there's still one more thing on here, which is review our priorities, projects, and timeline of committees, which our priority list at the top was review trash ordinance, done. Animal ordinance, we're kind of working on. Police canine finances, including overtime for officers and public relations, we've kind of talked about that.
Mhm.
School resource officer,
Still working away at that.
additional police officer.
Yep.
Fire codes, I think we've already passed that. Code enforcement, yeah. And review PHS, Public Health and Safety Municipal Code. I think we'll leave that big one for last.
Yeah.
Who's gonna introduce the, fire code tonight? That probably ought to be somebody from this group. Are you gonna do?
I'm pointing to Sandy.
I was pointing to Ann.
You didn't point.
When you
I
guys do
taught
rock,
you.
paper, scissors, just when you announce it, remember to do first reading, because it's an ordinance, so public hearing and first reading.
Fine. Okay.
All right, I have a new priority for you, and
Oh, good.
I'll go ahead and put this one at number 2. Number 1 is obviously an additional officer. One thing I wanted to recommend and sort of move up the chain of command to public health and safety, to city council, to the mayor, is I had a pretty in-depth conversation with Brian Hanna, 2 weeks ago, and one of the things that we really did talk about, he kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things, is that the police department has truly outgrown its office. It's a great, I mean, like, there's a lot of great memories in this building, but I mean, like, we have outgrown it, something fierce. We don't have interview rooms. Our evidence is ever expanding. Sally ports and mess, the heaters in the Sally port. Anyways, I can go on and on. One of the things I would like to recommend and see if we can move forward with is putting money aside, and Brian explained it to me, to have designer, architects look at a plot of land that the city does own and kind of spell out plans for what a police department needs, do a design of it, and then kind of present it. So, I mean, like, a few years down the road, we can hit the ground running. We have the plans in place. We have a reputable building for the police department that, you know, the public does see.
That
And
will
something
service
that-
in the next 50 years?
Well, I'm, you know, hopefully a lot sooner than that, hopefully before I retire. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
No, I mean, that
So
will,
you
that
won't
will,
retire until we get this done?
well,
I heard,
I,
it's on tape.
I'll tell you what, if there's a new building, I'd probably do another 5. But anywho,
Brilliant.
yeah, right? Did you like that? The little ultimatum there? Anyways, something that the officers and the public can be proud of, I'd like to talk about. And Brian has a lot more knowledge, obviously, as a building inspector than I do. I know what a police department needs,
Right.
and Brian knows, you know, the structure, the property lines, the square footage. He actually mapped it out for me the other day, and you can
Oh.
have a pretty great example of, you know, what a police department should look like for the plot of land that we do have, that I would recommend putting it on.
What's the plot of land?
It's an AY Supply.
We own that?
Sir, what's the,
We do not own it.
we don't own AY Supply, but we do own the lot where they house all the U-Haul vehicles and everything.
In the front.
We have
Oh.
some lots over there.
How big is that
Perfect
piece of
location.
land?
You like it? I'm sorry?
How big is that piece of land?
He mapped it out for me.
Do you remember?
I can ask him.
It's sizable, and AY is something, by the way, the city doesn't currently own. They could own, and they could use the, TIF funds to purchase that. My understanding firsthand, and things change, is that at this point in time, the owner is not interested in selling, and this is his retirement gig, so it's not like he gets to go retire earlier, because this is what he likes to do, yeah.
Yeah, he enjoys sitting out there.
So there are conversations, he knows that if he decides he's interested in selling, we'd like to hear from him.
Yeah.
And we bug him a couple times a year or so,
Oh, good.
see if it's changed, but.
Yeah, Brian did map out, drew it up actually online, what the city does own. And there is enough space, room there to build a pretty nice building.
That would last for a while.
Yeah.
Did you include the jail?
No.
I was wondering, a holding cell.
So jail responsibilities are 100% up to the county sheriff's department. The sheriff is in charge of all jail operations.
Period.
Period. I have a lot of recommendations, sure. However, when it comes to the actual decision-making process, that's up to Sheriff McQuillan, and obviously input from the commissioners and whatnot. And thankfully, I don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So interview rooms.
That's
and-
exciting.
Interview rooms, impound lot, Sally Port,
Oh,
maybe a
impound
gym one
lot.
day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
a briefing
Forgive
room.
my ignorance. What's a Sally Port?
Sally Port, just like what we have out here in our garage.
Obviously haven't been arrested.
What's
It's a garage that you can drive through both ends, isn't it?
Yes,
You can drive in one end and out the other end.
yep.
Really?
With prisoners.
Why would one
Yeah.
call it a Sally Port?
Maybe the first person arrested was
You know,
Sally? Sally?
Street is where-
It just seems like the oddest name for that.
Well, you Sally Forth.
There's Bay, Vehicle Bay, Sally Port. I've
Vehicle
always
Bay.
referred to it as a Sally Port. It's just,
That's the name of it. But
Yeah.
please build a drain in it.
ye-
They don't have a drain over here.
A Sally Port is a secure, controlled entryway, often used in fortifications or prisons, designed to deter unwanted entry or exit, typically featuring a series of doors or gates that prevent continuous unobstructed passage.
so 2 doors,
So,
in and out. Anywho,
Drive-through.
yeah, interview rooms, briefing room, offices for administrators. I mean, I have my own office. My admin does not. They kind of share an admin room and then patrol room. There's 1,000 different things you could do. We only need a few to have an effective office.
the term Sally Port comes from the Latin portus, meaning door, and sally from the Latin saliere, to jump or sortie, a military maneuver designed to delay and harass an opposing force. So it's Latin.
Understood.
Is it S-A-L-L-Y?
It's S-A-L-L-Y, but it's from the Latin S-A-L-I-R-E.
They're
Yeah,
giving you a
every 20
new track,
Good
a
Lord.
new, I hope there's a lid on it.
I was just gonna say that.
There is.
The old one had one, so.
I
They're
was
just gonna open it, leave it
You
open
beat me
because
to
there's
it.
no ordinance that says you can't.
You beat me to it. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there. If we could talk,
I love it.
discuss.
I'm gonna go
putting-
home and look
Big
up
copy.
Montana cadastral and see how much land there is and,
Brian Hannah's a good point of contact for that too, because he's honestly,
But you can go in and see what we own on cadastral.
yeah.
Yeah.
Basically the stuff in front of AY and also the concrete batch plant that's down there.
Have
We
you
don't
ever
know.
told
I
them,
envision-
have you ever told them to get off
Concrete
of city land?
I envision, honestly, Park County Law Enforcement Center, obviously not the size of the building, because that is a gigantic building and there's a jail in there. But when you go over the river and you're going into Cody, Wyoming, that's the first building that you see. And
Yeah.
it's, I've been in there a few times, and it's impressive.
Yeah,
It is impressive. So,
yeah, it's that one on the left as you're going before the
Yeah.
river,
yep. Yep.
where I always,
materials you're
always
looking at.
maintain my speed.
Would you be looking at steel building that?
I don't think we can do steel.
Why
Can
not?
we? Don't we have a municipal ordinance against, or, ordinance against, pole barns and whatnot
For residences.
for residences?
Only.
It can't look like.
If it fits,
But of course, that's
Just
been
would make
breached.
it more affordable.
sure, if it fits the theme of what Red Lodge wants and it's not like super out of control, we can make anything probably look really nice.
You can front a steel building
Yeah.
where you don't even know that it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are ways.
I've been in law enforcement centers down in Nevada, and you go up to them, including a court, because I was doing concealed carry stuff down there. I had to go to their law enforcement facility. And you walk up to this courthouse, it's like, wow, this is really nice, and you look around the edge, it's like, it's just a steel building. It looks very impressive from the front,
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
I mean, anyways, just a thought, if you guys would,
Somehow
and gals
start
would think
funding.
about it, start moving it up the chain of command, that's one thing that I did want to mention this week, I appreciate it.
Well,
thank
you
you.
have been here since 1938.
Me?
No, the police department.
Oh, yeah, 1938.
What's that, the 89 years, or whatever, that's a long time.
Yeah.
If you
Time
look
to
in
get
the-
going
In the
on that.
planner's office, you can see some of the original jail cells.
Yeah, there's one downstairs, and then there's one in Brian's office, where when Chief Krummeyer was here, that was where he sat, and then there's actually, yeah, there's two jail cells, and there's a bunch downstairs. And a lot of, yeah, anyways.
Anyway, I'm
We
going to
adjourning?
officially adjourn the meeting.
Got it.
Thank you.